Hello, and welcome to the More Cheese Less Whiskers.com podcast. My name's Dean Jackson, and today we're going to be talking with Nandu from New Orleans, who happens to be a gentleman who is helping restaurant owners grow their business and has the distinction of being the gentleman who opened a chain of Italian restaurants in India. So, very interesting character. We had a great conversation, and one of the things that we talked about was establishing what I call proprietary metrics, ways that you can know that what you're doing is working so that you can pass that on to other businesses. If you establish a metric that you know that you can help affect, that can create the foundation for a training program that you're the only one in the world that can help people with. So very, very, interesting conversation we had, and I think you're going to enjoy this episode. So here we go. Nandu,
Hi, Dean.
how are you?
Very good. How are you?
I am fantastic.
It's a pleasure to speak to you.
Yes, I'm very excited. Where are you calling in from?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in position. I've got my evil scheme hatching tablet here, and I'm all ears. I want to hear all about the Nandu story and what we're going to focus on today.
Okay. So first of all, I think I've been following you on I Love Marketing for a really long time with Joe. Been following the Genius Network, the work you guys have been doing,
Yes.
And then More Cheese Less Whiskers. I haven't yet really heard the podcast with Dan Sullivan, but I've used a lot of what you've spoken about in
Do you
your
know what's
podcast.
funny? You know what's funny about that, Nandu? Is the podcast with Dan Sullivan is called The Joy of Procrastination. And you just basically admitted you've been procrastinating listening
Yes,
to the
I
Dan
have.
Sullivan podcast. That's funny.
I have. Yeah, it is funny. Now I got to go do that. So I've used a lot of the things you talk about. And I've loved the way you write. That's really what's kept me interested. And I heard a few podcasts over the time, and so I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, I am too.
So what do I do? Is at the age of 22.
So tell me what's been.
Go ahead, Dean.
Sorry, tell me what you've been focused on. What's your business here?
So currently, I run an online school to teach restaurant owners the best business practices in the industry.
Okay.
And so how this came about, and it's important because it's a business and a mission, not just a business.
Okay.
And how this came about was at the age of 22, I was in India, where I'm from, and I started India's first Italian restaurant chain.
Ha!
And I spent my 20s working 15-hour days, 7 days a week, trying to build a restaurant business from scratch, not knowing much about it. I was formally educated in hotels, but it was too nascent in the Indian, scene of food. No data, no statistics. Everything's going on gut. And so over the next 15 years, to cut the story short, I pretty much opened over 30 restaurants, shut over 20, finally landed up with a dozen of them, and then sold the company in 2016. My wife's American. We decided to move to the States. And then the week of moving, I have a heart attack.
Oh, no.
So I'm 38.
Wow,
I was a chain smoker.
Young.
Yeah, I was a chain smoker. I didn't eat too well. I worked out, but by the time I made all the positive changes, which were in the last 4 years of the business, I think my body had already taken a toll. So what happened was I was kind of in a stump of what to do, and because I couldn't jump back physically putting those hours into building a new restaurant or with the vision of a new restaurant chain in the States. And I said, what do I do? And I said, there's a lot that I've learned. There are a million mistakes I've made, and there are a lot of creative ways I've solved some major issues in the that are affecting restaurant businesses. And when I say restaurant business, I mean any food business, really.
Okay.
And I said, why don't I teach this? And so I started F&B Business School, which is food and beverage in short, F&B Business School, to teach restaurant owners the best business practices. So it's not like what a typical consultant would come in and do, which is, train the servers or train the cooks and all of that stuff. It's more the money side, the systems, the habits, the disciplines, the techniques that get you to scale your business profitably.
Okay.
And that's what I really learned, is how to scale profitably. And how I learned this was in 2009. I was running out of money and I needed to raise some money. And nobody had raised money in Indian history in the food business.
Wow.
So I'm banging on doors for a long time till finally one investor says, yes, we'll invest in you. But first we need you to go do this and go do that. And what they were pretty much doing for the next 12 months were testing whether I would listen to them. So what came out of it was that I started meeting CEOs and consultants who were consulting for Fortune 500 companies and CEOs of other industries. And I was listening to them having solved issues that were affecting my business, such as employee turnover and not scaling profitably. And I said, why can't I use what they've done in my restaurant business?
Yes.
And so I started adopting their techniques. Some worked, some did. But when it finally came together, I took these complex solutions, simplified them to the extent that a majority of my employees, which were over 100 employees at that time, who are mostly uneducated, not past more than the fourth grade. So I got them to execute complex solutions, which taught me alignment in the business and, adhering and putting everyone to one goal. And I learned a lot from the scale-up habits, the Rockefeller habits, top grading, net promoter score, and all of that. And, I pretty much took all of that and simplified it so that an uneducated person could understand it, execute it, align with it, and deliver results. And the other thing that was really a big learning lesson throughout that period of time was I was a horrible person to other human beings. They were just a number on my P&L. And I learned the hard way that that's not right. You got to change. And they're human beings and they need to feel appreciated, acknowledged, involved in your business and as a human being respected. And what do I do to make that happen just as a human connection? And two, how do I translate that into retention? And so when I started, so now I'm jumping to 2016 when I created F&B Business School. When I figured out how to solve employee turnover by actually starting off to be a better person, but also looking at the techniques I used to stop employee turnover and scale profitably, I created 2 courses. One is called Stop Employee Turnover, which is the biggest problem in the food business globally.
Is that right?
And the second one I called was Profit Accelerator, which was the scale-up habits of growing profitably. So 2016 onwards to 2017, I pretty much spent a year breaking my head, banging it against the wall, trying to understand the online landscape as compared to brick and mortar. Connecting the dots was a little hard for me, but I finally figured it out. I took courses from people in Genius Network, such as Jeff and other people, and I learned what they were doing, and I experimented with what they suggested, but it wasn't working with my audience. And so finally, I launched the first course last year, which was the Restaurant Profit Accelerator, which is the more expensive course, which was priced at $2,000, and it didn't sell. Like zero. I built my list up to, I think I was like 150. I didn't wait. I just went for it. I didn't know any better. I thought you can sell through ads. I spent a lot of money, a lot of my savings on Facebook ads.
Oh boy.
Zero return on ads. Zero, not even one sign up. So these were all my learning lessons, understanding, and my the person I want to serve, the restaurateur, is a whole different animal as compared to um, the other business people out there, and I'll tell you a little bit about them.
Okay.
The second course I started was Stop Employee Turnover, which was for 197. I wanted it to be an entry level course that somebody comes in, gets a feel of how I teach, also uses the techniques. So it's funny. You have the 8 profit activator. I have the 8 techniques to stop employee retention, and so it absolutely worked for me. And I put it out there in a course, a video course, very simple to execute. And I did sell, but I only sold 2 out of a list of 300. And and I also tried, and so I also figured out that I need to reach out to more people in the industry and do JV launches, et cetera, which I'm working on. But coming to how you can really help me is at this moment of time I've been vlogging for a year and a half, religiously every week. I have finally identified who I want to speak to, which is restaurant owners who own 1 to 3 restaurants.
Okay.
And not the people who really want to get into the business, and not the guys who've just started. It's the 1 to 3, one person who's been in it for a little bit and then has up to 3.
Oh.
The reason I came to this was I feel that they, one, can afford courses. 2, I feel they are more committed to growing, a little more clear with their own vision to an extent. So this is where I am. And I said, I've tried your, what really worked for me was your super signature.
Right.
And when I started using it, I at least got back some kind of engagement. And so over the year, I've been speaking to a couple of other people in the industry, people who own a couple of restaurants, consultants, and the general consensus is that restaurateurs don't really hang out on like Facebook. If they have a restaurant, they've usually outsourced their social media to someone, and the only time they really get involved is when there's some complaint, which freaks them out.
Right.
And so my focus is really moving towards LinkedIn, and that's where I am really. And so my biggest problem is really getting people on my list.
Okay. How many people do you have on your list right now?
400.
Okay, so you have 400. Are these 400 of your ideal people that own 1 to 3 restaurants, or is that the whole? That's everything you've.
That's everything.
Okay, so we're basically starting, fresh here.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, what I've heard so far is you've been talking a lot about the the primary thing of employee turnover, or
correct,
is the is one of the biggest things. So tell me what the impact of that could be on a restaurant. If you look at what's a typical, if you look at this one, the person who owns one restaurant.
Right. What I did, I'm just going to reach there in a second. What I did forget to tell you was the reason I'm actually doing all of this is I realized that it became a mission more than a business. It has to make money. But the idea is to help the restaurant owners lead a better life. So they have more time at home, more time with their partner, more time with their kids, because the kids are hanging behind the bar while they're working. So I can make that change. So now answering your question, when I can help them stop employee turnover, what happens is that they begin to treat their employees better. And when they treat their employees better and the employees are happier and more stable and feel better, they begin to treat the customer better. And when they begin to treat the customer better, imagine when you've gone to a restaurant and you've had a really great time and you walk out. Like it makes your day. Versus when you go to a restaurant and you have a horrible experience, you're kind of pissed off or in a pissy mood, and it starts to kind of ripple effect in things that you do.
Yes.
And so the ripple effect of that good service to the customer going out to the customer's evening and the next day is a ripple effect of positivity in the locality that a restaurant owner can make. Which in today's day and age, he may not realize the positive influence he's making to people's lives because we depend so much on eating out in restaurants.
Yes. So now,
and yeah, that's the benefit.
Okay. And so what would that turn into, economically for him? Would you say, like, how would they practically look at it? How many employees would a single restaurant have?
Let's say an average of 15 for now.
Okay. So they've got 15 employees, and you were saying earlier that that's the number one problem that they have is employee turnover.
Correct.
And is that in the in the kitchen staff, the wait staff, is it all across the board?
All over.
All over. Okay. And so when you think about that, what is what's the cost of that in terms of dollars that it could be impacting them?
I would have to generalize here, but if I were to generalize as realistically as possible, I'd say at least half their turnover.
So when you half their turnover, you mean half their revenue? It's cost.
I'm sorry. Yeah, half their
50%. 50%.
That's right. Half their revenue. Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you have anything to back this up?
No.
Okay. So it's a speculation right now, right? Or I like this more. Let's make it more scientific and say it's a hypothesis. So have you worked with anybody who has increased their revenue by 50% by solving the turnover problem?
No. So when I did sell the courses, it's like they were ghosts.
I understand. Well, here's the thing, though, is that because you're selling theories, right? You're selling hypotheses. You're selling, that this may work. Here's what I've learned about this. But it's the difference between what I end up calling book reports versus field reports, right?
Correct.
And a field report is something where you've actually gone in and done the experimenting and gotten the result and duplicated it. Everything that really has impacted what I do is that I take the scientific method in everything that I do. And I'm looking to see, I come up with a hypothesis. I choose an N of 1 study to test my hypothesis, right? Because everything that you're doing, if you're going to solve all the employee turnover in every restaurant in the world, you've got to be able to solve the employee turnover program in one restaurant in New Orleans. Right. And then when you do that, when you're testing your hypothesis, when you test it out and you see what actually happened, and then you document the results, and then you can do it again. Now you've got what I call a scale-ready algorithm, right? You've got the algorithm that you can deploy in any restaurant and get the predictable result. But you can't, the things that I was listening to is that your focus on the way you're describing things to me has been on the courses and not on the results.
Right.
And the courses are just a mechanism to get the result. And so that's why I'm probing now. I was listening to have you tell me, here's what we did, and here's how it works, and here's the impact that it has, all of those kind of things. But your
Right.
focus, even in the way you've been describing it to me, has been, I got these courses.
Right.
Okay.
So I completely agree with you.
Hmm.
And so in the last year and a half, I've reached out to, I joined the Restaurant Association here,
Yep.
the state association, and I started mingling with the restaurateurs
Yep.
who attended these events.
Hmm.
And I found that the restaurateurs are, they say yes, yeah, it sounds good, but then not committing to even
Oh,
something for free. And so I was like, okay, I may be doing something wrong, or maybe I
so
have a
Nandu,
product that,
hang on one
yes,
second. I lost you for just a brief second there. You said you talk to the restaurant owners and they say,
right. So they were like, yeah, it's interesting, and then there's no further interest even after me following up.
right,
So I was like, okay, maybe I'm doing something wrong, or
uh-huh,
maybe I have a product nobody wants.
right,
Uh, so I said, all right. So I started digging more, and I met other consultants who work with, let's say, government organizations, banks, small business administrations, stuff like that. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? I just started asking this to people, thinking,
yeah,
let me just get a different perspective. Um, because I'm not averse to changing what I'm doing as long as I
right,
serve them.
right,
You know, um, but that's not what I heard back. I heard back there's a tremendous need. Maybe you're in the wrong market. Maybe you need to look at bigger markets such as New York, San Francisco, LA, where rents are higher, people are, the business is tougher. People are losing a lot more money, so there's more of an urgent need and urge to want to make a change.
mm-hmm,
So that is my actual current focus. Trying to reach out to people in bigger cities to do exactly what you're saying, which is for free. Let me come in and help you do it, and then use them, as examples of
right,
what I've
mm-hmm,
done.
mm-hmm.
That is my current focus. I'm in the midst of actually reaching out to people.
Right. So part of it, when you look at it, I can imagine that um, the response or the lack of response or the lack of follow-up response is because it's unclear what the what the outcome can be.
Correct.
Like it's something that first of all, um, it sounds like a lot of work when you
Right.
think about it because you've got a course, which means somebody's got to take this course now, which means time and uh, hours, and then they've got to actually then do stuff after the course, right?
Yeah.
To get it actually done, you've got to first of all learn how to do it, as opposed to it's a you know when you look at it that the restaurant owner and any business owner, really, there's no magic between restaurant owners or dry cleaners or anybody.
Right.
It's really that their biggest concern more than anything is I need to get more business, I guess,
Hmm.
and if that, and they don't see the connection between that and between a course on treating your employees better versus that's probably how they interpret it, right? Versus that at the end of it turns into more money quickly. It
Right.
seems like um, a long process, and on its own seems very sort of without any evidence. It seems very unlikely that
Right.
alone would impact
Right.
my bottom line. And it's a difference from, you know, because the cost of turnover is really more of a hidden cost or an absorbed cost than it is
Yeah.
a black
Correct.
and white thing, so tell me about your scaling up course for the $2,000
So
course.
this scale up,
What's the outcome?
the outcome that I saw within my business was my business shot up to 3x and more,
Yeah.
close to 4x.
What did you do?
And
What was the best thing that you did? Like what turned it around immediately?
clarity of what I want
Mm-hmm.
and the discipline of prioritizing and creating a chain of communication that aligned everyone to one goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think turned it around. In addition to what made actually the biggest difference to my revenues was feedback, customer feedback, creating a robust customer feedback system that just didn't land up on my desk and I ignored it, versus creating a way for me to read a lot of information and get an idea of what my customer wants and just do that. And so I effectively
Right.
actually I stopped taking decisions and I just
Mm-hmm.
said that 80% people want this, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
How can we make it happen?
And
And
this is what when you say 80% of people, 80% of your customers, this is what they want.
who gave a feedback? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so
So, yeah.
what was the insight that you got from that you made
Right.
the actual changes, right?
So, when we began using this system, I understood that. So, one of my concepts was selling pizzas by the slice within cinemas.
Okay.
And in India, when it produces the most amount of movies a year in the world,
I did not
and
know
so
that.
when you have a one hit movie, you're talking about 3,000 or 5,000 people entering a cinema for the weekend to watch a
Mm-hmm.
movie.
Mm-hmm.
And by Indian law, once you're in the cinema, you cannot exit it for security reasons. So I pretty much can sell you what I want and charge you what I want.
Uh-huh.
Great business. So I started selling pizza by the slice, which was hot food in a cold environment, more like a meal rather than popcorn, which is a snack. It was a hit.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But what was happening was my sales were stagnating. And so once we began to take feedback, we came to know that your food is not piping hot.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me 6 months to figure out why my food is not piping hot and how to make it piping hot, because it was exiting the oven at the right temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And so we created our own packaging that retained heat but let the humidity escape, therefore making the pizza crispy and staying hot.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And just that. So 80% of my customers were saying your food is not hot. Once we took care of that, 0% was saying, or no one was saying that your food is not hot. So the rest of the 20% that were the feedbacks, the negative feedbacks, we made that the 100% of focus on. And we fine-tuned and chiseled away at what our customers want to finally arrive at most of them being really happy, and our repeat customer percentage just shot through the roof.
Yes.
That's how it helped me really make a difference to the business. That
I
was
like it. Now,
one of the big
how
things.
long of a time frame was that over?
Maybe a year.
Okay. And that's very, it's interesting that what drove your innovation or drove your problem solving or your projects was what customers were saying. So you took a customer centric approach
Yes.
to it, getting that feedback and then making the thing. All riding on the general idea, though, that where did you get the idea for doing the pizza in the movie theaters?
Well, we were in food courts, and one of my franchisees gave me a call one day and said, "Hey, the cinema wants to sell pizzas. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Okay, let's give it a shot." And so we, at that moment of time, we just started preparing pizzas one floor below in the food court, and then sending it up as per order. But as it started to get busy, we created.
Sorry, Nandu.
Yeah,
I don't know what's happening, but every now and then I'll lose you for about 15 seconds or so. So when you said, I asked, how you got the idea to sell the pizza
right.
in the theaters, and then you disappeared.
Right. Okay. So one day I had a few franchisees, and one day my franchisee calls me up and says, we are in the food court, we have one of our stores in the food court, and the cinema a floor above us wants to sell pizzas, do you want to do it?
Ah,
And so we just quickly created a concept to make and sell pizzas within cinemas in a very small square footage area.
yes,
um, and that's how it began. And then once it got on like fire, we just started expanding that, and we put our focus more on that rather than the restaurants, because that vanilla stores or the small stores, the revenue was very high and the profits were very high.
yes.
Um, yeah, that's how it started.
Oh, that's great. So, did you go set up in their kitchen, or did you?
So when you walk into a cinema, you
Yeah,
normally see a counter which sells
yeah,
you popcorn and
yeah.
all of that stuff. So they just give us a portion of that, and then we'd
Okay.
bring in our own equipment and get going.
Oh, that's so great. So
And
that
yeah,
was a nice innovation there, and so much of that was you know, that's a serendipity. It's what
yeah,
we call having a starving crowd, right?
you
Because
can say that. Yeah.
you're the right thing. Years ago, I ran and owned a hot dog stand in
Okay.
college, and we had a um, we had a contract with a nightclub that would
Right.
allow us to put our hot dog cart outside the nightclub. This was a nightclub that was kind of isolated. Not it wasn't in. There wasn't all kinds of stuff around. It was on land, and so we were the only game in town, right? So
Right.
we would show up at 9 o'clock at night and stay till 2, and it was just nonstop. People, buying hot dogs and sausages because it was the only game in town. So, um, I think that's great. It's a little bit of an outlier from what a traditional restaurant would be, but the lesson of getting that feedback um, would really help restaurants. But what else if I'm your restaurant owner, like what I'm really getting at, Nandu, is partly to get the outcome that I can expect in engaging with you or collaborating with you.
Right. I would agree.
So yeah, so that's where, in order for anything to work, the baseline thing has to be, what is the exchange that we're going to make, right? What is the outcome that you're 100% going to be able to create for me? And preferably, what would it be that would be a dream come true outcome for me as a restaurant owner? And that you are so confident in it that not that you would get paid this way, but that you would be willing to put um, your payment dependent on the results.
Right.
Like when you worked on the thing, there's a good lesson here, is that in a micro examination here of it, your pizza situation there, what you did in figuring it out, once you figured out how to make it hot and not soggy,
Hmm.
that became your winning formula. You had 100% confidence that you could deliver piping hot pizza right
Mm-hmm.
to your customer, and they were going to be 100% happy with it, right? And so
Correct.
now, for that you charged however much money it was,
Yeah.
usurious prices, because you were in a closed environment where you were the only game in town, right? There
Correct.
was no other real hot food options. Now,
Correct.
with that model here, what we need to do for your course, your outcome, the engagement with you, is figure out what is it that we're actually going to um, deliver for somebody, rather than just the information,
Right.
and that information only is valuable as it is, you know, leading to an outcome.
Correct.
And that's what I'm trying to work through with you here, to try and guide you in a direction of what could we do that could create some immediate and direct result for people.
Right.
Do you have any other, what other things in scaling up? Like, if we were to say, if I came to you and said, listen, I really want to, um, get my, um, I really want to turn things around here. I
Right.
really want to get more business. What would you say?
So I would like one of the disciplines is customer feedback. The
Yeah.
other is financial planning. I've noticed a lot of restaurateurs don't plan their finances going ahead 1 to 3 years. They don't break it up into, and they don't view it as per half yearly or quarterly results. There is no direction. It's just like I did 100x last year. Let me do 105x. I mean,
Yeah.
105%.
Yeah.
So it's getting them clarity on their of growth in terms
Mm-hmm.
of finances,
Mm-hmm.
and then teaching them the habits to um, identify those KPIs or indicators towards their bigger goal, and then showing them how they can read those figures every month and then communicate and get their team involved in it to
Mm-hmm.
improve them.
Okay.
So that's another part of
So
scaling
if
up
I'm a restaurant
profitably.
owner, that the
Mm-hmm.
KPI that
Mm-hmm.
I'm mostly interested in is the number of dollars that I have at the end of the week or the month.
At this moment,
Yeah,
that's what somebody would. Yes.
absolutely. So
Correct.
all of these other KPIs, are really that's if I'm, all the other ones are going to fall into line
Correct.
if we can get that number up, right?
Correct. Correct.
Solving those things, or looking at those numbers, or measuring them, or knowing them, is not going to impact that the Trump KPI, the master
Correct.
KPI, right?
Correct.
Of more dollars. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah, so I think that part of what you would have people's attention with is if you were able to focus on them getting that number up right away without having to know all these other numbers. Is there something, um, are there, I talk about like things like a 9-word email, or things like a
Right.
super signature, or things that you can immediately deploy that make an immediate difference right now. What would be, do you have any of those kind of things that would be, if I put a gun to your head and said, listen, you gotta increase the revenue over the next 2 weeks here in this restaurant, what would you do? And I'm saying that not out of being dramatic, but that's the reality of what a lot of restaurateurs probably feel, right? Is that they've
Correct.
got that gun to their head, meaning the rent, the mortgage, payroll, suppliers, all the overhead, everything that they need to pay.
Correct.
Yeah. So that level of, and they're just, in a lot of situations, just kind of barely getting through that, surviving.
Correct. If I were to go in and to answer your question,
Yeah.
I think I would focus on selling more at the table.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere, right? That now
Right.
you can have let's just infuse cash and then we can, stabilize it and build a structure around it. If you can bring more cash in, then you have my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're taking from me as a restaurant owner without your complete alignment on feeling my pain and my objective is that you're taking my time and attention and resources, turning it backwards towards something that is not solving my number one problem right now, which is more money. But if you can do that, if you can get something that they can do right away, that would make a big difference. That's a good thing. I use the restaurant example often as a kind of perfect microcosm for the during unit experience, right? Because
Right.
a restaurant is a very short time frame, right? You make a reservation, you show up at the restaurant, or if you're a quick serve restaurant, you don't even make a reservation. You're there, you come in, you are seated, you get your order taken, your food comes out, you eat it, you maybe or maybe not get dessert, you get the check, you pay, and you're out. And that's the 2 hour or hour and a half or hour client experience timeline, that we go through. So what we look at is that at the end of that, right now, they do have a baseline metric, which would be 100 diners come through the restaurant and they get, at the end of the day, on average, $3,000 at the end of that, let's say, or $2,000 or whatever it is, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? Now, if you can show them that on their next 100 diners, that if they deploy this one thing, we can turn that $2,000 into $2,500 or that $3,000 into $3,500.
Correct.
That would get someone's attention, right?
Correct.
So what would be your strategy for a restaurant to increase the money at the table?
Well, one I just mentioned, which is increasing the average guest check.
Yeah. So what would you recommend for that?
I would. There are tricks one can do. Would you like me to share that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I want to hear.
Example,
I want to get it like a practical, actual thing. Yeah.
So, for example, when you go to a restaurant and they seat you down to give you a menu, or you're going to a quick service or fast casual and you find a menu on the table and you're looking at it and the person comes and takes your order.
Yes.
Thing is, they serve you water and you get the food and your drinks, whatever you ordered, and then you leave. Yeah. At the end, they may or may not ask you, do you want dessert?
Right.
So one of the easiest ways to do is to introduce the dessert right in the beginning, which is I don't ask you what you'd like to eat. I'd say, today we have this. for dessert.
Uh-huh.
We have a key lime pie that's really good. It's baked in-house. It's smelling really good, and it's very fresh.
Uh-huh.
So keep some space for it. So throughout the meal, what you're doing is you're envisioning this dessert if it resonates with you and you want a key lime pie.
Yes.
And whether you have space for it or not, there is a higher likelihood that you're going to order it because I've put that seed in your mind
Right.
right in the beginning.
Yeah.
So this is one of the simple ways. So even if let's say at first let's say 10% people order dessert, even if 20% people order dessert. So taking your example of 100 diners, if 10 diners order dessert, now you got 10 more, 10% or 20%, and so that's so it's more revenue in the day. And that multiplies depending on what time
Absolutely.
your business hours are.
Yes.
And things like that.
Yes.
So that's one of the easy ways.
How
You
many,
can do
can I ask you something? How
it.
many diners or tickets, or what would they call, what's the actual language that they would use for the number of
Right.
diners per day?
Seats.
Yeah,
Okay.
seats. So
So
how many
yeah.
seats would somebody?
It's actually, that's a very big question
Yeah.
concept.
Uh-huh.
But let's just say a simple casual dining restaurant,
Yeah.
where your average guest check is between $20 to $30.
Yes.
It would have around 50 to 70 seats, and then you got to measure your turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
So you would typically say a 1.5.
1.5 turnaround.
Maybe one and a
Mm-hmm.
half at dinner. If they're open throughout the day, I'd add one and a half more at the best. That would be your average.
So it'd be pretty, pretty, it would not be uncommon for a restaurant to have 100 diners come in on a daily basis.
No, it wouldn't.
Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. Now, this is where you have an opportunity to immediately get some results for somebody, right? On the
Right.
next 100 diners, it's not, let me examine what's been going wrong and let's see what you're not doing. Is let's just say that, let's just agree that they're doing something, whatever they're doing is getting 100 people to
Correct.
come in. And
Correct.
let's just show this one thing. Now, excuse me, that you could get immediate results by finding one restaurant and doing that tomorrow.
Correct.
I mean, and that's where you could show a proven impact on that one thing, where you look at it that if you can show them how to, just by, saying the words at the beginning, telling them about this key lime pie or about this apple pie or about whatever it is, even if they don't make pie, if you went to a bakery and you got some pies, and you said that's it, that would be that you could get the results of an experiment. Now you're putting the scientific method to this, and you've
Right.
got documented proof that if they can extrapolate this, that you're looking, you've got something now that can, over time, if that becomes the standard, that becomes a pretty big impact if you can add revenue every per 100 diners,
Correct.
and it's an interesting thing if that's not a standard metric. One of the things that you can create, and I do this all the time, is create what I call proprietary metrics, that you've got a metric that they're not even used to advertise or measuring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's there like a magic trick. It exists. They've just
Mm-hmm.
never looked at it that way, right? Like on their
Correct.
last 100 diners, they got this. Or even if you had a rolling average of their last 1,000 diners, you know, um, that their average revenue per available table, in the hotel business, they have a standard metric called RevPAR, which is
Correct.
revenue per available room. Um,
Correct.
yeah, and so if you look at that, um, if you look at the same kind of thing, not even necessarily on the available space that they have in the restaurant where their shortcoming is, but on 100 diners, whether that happens today or it takes 2 days or 3 days, whatever it is, it's each 100, and you can make an impact on that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, I like that idea. And one of the other things, there are probably 5 or 6 things or more that you could layer on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
That if you start with that one, that's great. But if you started measuring, if they're not getting contact information from people, if they don't have a list of their diners,
Mm-hmm.
that could be um, that could be a big um, that could be a big thing.
I
If
agree.
in addition to that, if you instituted a birthday club,
Yeah.
where if they just join your birthday club, you know they get a piece of cake tonight and you get a $20 gift card on their birthday. And now you get 100 people come to the restaurant. You get what you would normally get, plus you get the pie bonus, plus you get 30, 40, 50 people who've joined your birthday club.
Right.
And that becomes an asset. So I think that those things as an entry in to a relationship with
Mm-hmm.
the restaurant are going to open the door to all of the other deeper things where you're coming in with the thing that they need more than anything.
Right.
You're giving them what they want, right? In a way that starts a relationship that will allow you to then give them what they need.
Correct. I mean,
Yeah.
I was having a little resistance for a few minutes
Yeah.
on this part, which is worthy to mention that if my focus is someone who's so my focus really has been 1 to 3 restaurants because I
Yeah.
find they're more committed.
Sure.
I love these ideas. And at the end of the day, I mean, after you finished talking, I was like, yes, I think this makes a lot of sense. But in
Mm-hmm.
between, I think the block or the speed bump that I was having was somebody who owns 1 to 3 restaurants usually has figured out their own little ways of doing things. Maybe they're looking for bigger impact.
Yeah.
Um, but I like that you said that this is an entry into a relationship. It
Yeah.
really isn't what I would like to teach them, which would make a bigger impact. It's
Yeah.
what they
I mean,
need, rather this is what they
part
want.
of the
Right.
part of the thing that makes the um, whole system kind of work is that you are creating a result for somebody,
Hmm.
in a way that maybe they hadn't thought of, or a way that is demonstrable. Like, do you have a restaurant? Do you have a relationship with any restaurant that would allow you to test this experience?
I'm sure I could find one.
Yeah. And that, I think that, if you look at that and you're um, documenting this as you go,
Right.
I think that's really a great way to start the relationship.
Correct.
Yeah.
I like this. Start the relationship.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm really taking away today.
Hmm.
Because when you want to help, I think you kind of ignore the basic door opening, something that will crack the door open,
Right.
and that could be the
Yes.
simplest thing, which you
Yes.
just mentioned.
Yes.
Right. Right. And so, what would you say for how? What would you say for building a list online? What would you say that would entice a person like a restaurateur to
Yeah.
share his information?
Well,
I've tried the
I think
guide.
I think a birthday club would be a good thing. That, when if you said to somebody, like, even if you did, here's what you could do with and an additional thing, if they don't order the key lime pie, what I've only ever seen this at one restaurant, is they had these little shot glass desserts, right? That were a
Right.
little bite of a
Hmm.
brownie with some chocolate syrup and some whipped cream, right? On top. And they were like $2, for this little bite. And when people would refuse dessert, when they declined regular dessert, then they would come by with a um, with the tray of
Hmm.
these little dessert shots that almost nobody could resist, because everybody's got room for just a bite of dessert. And
Correct.
if you can do them with a high margin, because it's very little cost to
Correct.
do it, that becomes another little win. It's really like this whole dining experience is like theater in a lot of ways. I mean, it's really,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a performance. And the more things you can do like that. So getting back to that little shot thing, that if they join the birthday club, that they get one of those um, tonight, and then they get a $20 gift card on their birthday.
Right.
And what you get in exchange is you get the contact information of 30, 40, or 50 people per 100 who come through the restaurant. And that
Now,
builds the list fairly quickly.
um, if I were to just shift it back to F&B business school for a second,
Yes.
um, what would your advice be on building a list for me, as meaning getting more restaurants on my list? I've been blogging, I've been vlogging, I've
Yeah.
been, tried my being active in Facebook groups. It really hasn't. I don't think they hang out much there. And
Right.
I've tried the guide. I read one of your emails on. You had an example of you'd used a restaurant actually, and you'd said the catering guide or the best catering ideas in your town or something. I can't
Oh,
remember exactly.
we did.
Um,
Those were wedding
yes,
locations.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And so I did try something like that for last Christmas,
Hmm.
which was incentives. The right incentives for your employees for Christmas.
Uh-huh.
It was a guide giving them
Uh-huh.
50 ideas.
Right.
Maybe it wasn't the right thing, but
Right.
I just tried out the idea. And so,
Right.
any advice on how to build a list online so I can communicate to more people.
Yeah, it's those things. It's like when you get, if you've got your experiment, like I would almost do this experiment, show the impact that it can have, and then document it as a case study of something that you can implement tonight to increase the things that becomes a field report, that this becomes an action guide, that it's something they can actually implement. That would be that'd be a really good thing, because then they'll be thinking, oh, well, what else have you got? But more importantly, what you have is now you've got you've turned
correct
an invisible prospect into a visible prospect.
Correct.
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you.
And that's the kind of thing. I think that's, focusing on not so much getting in the course selling business, but in the result getting business.
Right. No, it's been great. You've made it really simple. You brought it back to the basics, which it always works.
Yes.
I'm very grateful. Thank you, Dean. It's been really, really helpful.
Awesome, Nandu. Well, I really enjoy it. Keep me posted, because I think this there's a lot of good lessons in this for anybody helping any business grow. You're just, representative of that. So
yes. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks, Nandu.
I really enjoyed it. You're very smart. Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Dean. Thanks. Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
And there we have it. Another great episode. Thanks for listening in. If you want to continue the conversation, we'll go deeper in how the 8 profit activators can apply to your business. 2 things you can do. Right now, you can go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com and you can download a copy of the More Cheese Less Whiskers book, and you can listen to the back episodes, of course, if you're just listening here on iTunes. Secondly, the thing that we talk about in applying all of the 8 profit activators are part of the breakthrough DNA process. And you can download a book and a scorecard and watch a video all about the 8 profit activators at breakthroughdna.com. And that's a great place to start the journey in applying this scientific approach to growing your business. That's really the way we think about Breakthrough DNA, as an operating system that you can overlay on your existing business and immediately look for insights there. So that's it for this week. Have a great week, and we will be back next time with another episode of More Cheese, Less Whiskers.